All right, here we go. Here we go. So, hello everybody. This is the Dread Pirate, and with me is Malmodo, and Malmodo is angry. You could say he's frustrated. He's a frustrated DM. Here we go. Go into it. Rant, my friend. Rant.
Okay. So for our gentle listener, you may have heard me names talk.
You're cutting out again.
Currently...
Fucked up already.
Oh, shit. I keep getting away from my microphone.
Yeah.
I leaned back into this like slow finger crossing. Oh, let me tell you a tale, Danny.
Yeah.
But so the problem I have is prima donna players. Mm-hmm. They can't just be a part of the team. They have to be the head of the team. They have to be goofy on the side, getting all the attention. And they're like, essentially what it comes down to is they're little fucking kids that are like, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, guy, I got to play with other players. And they have to so what happens is I get mad because I'm trying to make a story that everybody can enjoy for everyone inside of the game. And so them not being happy because their expectations are above the 100% line, where they're like, no, I have to get 150% of the attention, not just 100%. I give every player probably 75% attention, so everybody feels like they're involved. And but also never ever special or special you. And but players that'll jump up my ass oh, well, I wanted this to happen for my character. And I'm like, guess what? Did you ever wake up one day and were like, I want this to happen in my life, and then it never fucking happened? Stories could be that way too. Sometimes you get to have the fun, I'm the hero, fucking Record of Lost War porn stories where you're this fucking loser that somehow manages to survive against seasoned combat veterans and shit like that.
By the way, I love that anime. I love Record of Lost War. Go ahead.
It's a good anime. It's actually based off of D&D. It has its own RPG system.
It does. I have it.
Yeah,
we should run it sometime.
I think maybe. I had issues with it because I'm not a fan of the D20 systems.
Yeah.
I like them for what they are, but I enjoy deeper play.
Yeah.
Because that for me is how I draw inspiration as a DM. If I have to sit there and draw up a fucking dungeon and then populate it with monsters, and these guys have a history. Like the fucking Lich, had to deal with some orcs back when he was a wizard, and he MC'd one of their fucking chieftains, and then he used that group to wipe out a village in part of his sacrifice.
Yeah.
And became the Lich, and now he's extended and raised all their dead as undead warrior.
Now he has to fight the person that taught him everything he knows. This time in Deadly Prey.
No,
David Pryor
there's
film.
none of that though. I have this dungeon with a rich history and lore talking about, this guy who did all this shit 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's been gathering power ever since because he wants to expand his influence and yada yada. And they're like, okay, we don't give a fuck about that. We're just here to chop them up because we don't have any depth to our characters. They only have stats for killing shit and finding shit to kill.
Yeah.
That is, and lying to things that you want to kill.
Yes.
And,
classic murder hobo behavior.
I hate taking people back to town because it's essentially we unload all of our stolen goods and we buy more weapons so we can go back to murder people. And I'm sitting there trying to have an interesting tavern conversation, and they're like, no, just give us the quest. And I'm listen, you fucking spoiled WoW babies.
Uh-huh.
I am not just going to be here with this guy has an exclamation point over his head, but I'm tempted to make. This is really now starting to tempt me to make a game about how much I am pissed as a DM with some generic, awful MMO level shit where it's you literally see the floating exclamation and shit like that. And you're playing an MMO inside of a tabletop because fuck me, I'm now a server. And
well, you try to go up and talk to just a regular person and they just don't respond to you because they're a generic NPC that has no dialogue. And even if they do talk, they can't say anything but one sentence.
I need to get the corn.
Yeah.
I need to get the corn.
Yeah.
I need to get the corn. Honey, have you harvested? I need to get the whole corn.
Yeah,
no, it's bonkers because I feel all right, so the old people are oh, millennials are the me generation. Everybody's the me generation.
It's true.
And it's always going to be that way because people are too fucking selfish and myopic to see that they have this quality as well. and it's hilarious because everybody's shouting me, and the other thing is everybody's the hero of their own story, so they also don't see their flaws, and so they don't hear themselves shouting me.
Yeah.
But lots of people, like when you play a game and you encounter people that are like, oh, I just want to see the end of the story. That for me is fucking jizz in my pants level for a DM.
Yeah.
Because you want your players to be involved. Eddie and I, we have our squabbles because he wants to play fucking Spider.
Yes.
Wolverine.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not interested in what Spider-Man has to say, Wolverine has to say about,
Wolverine says there's the best. I'm the best there is at what I do, bub. What I do isn't very nice. And Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. Specifically, that's what they say.
And that gets dull to me because I like seeing what other people come up for them because that's their characters usually, or they're fucking professional story writers for that kind of shit. For me though, I want to have engage my player. Like whenever I have players break down in frustration, I feel good because that means they care. That means that they are worked up because they had expectations and they wanted something to happen. And it's not like, they're frustrated because they're not getting what they want. So that's not it.
You and I need to argue more about whether or not Shell can go swimming is basically what you're telling me. We need to argue more about whether I can take a swim at night. So, okay.
That was just a conflict because Eddie projects himself into his characters too heavily.
Yes.
Instead of letting the characters project into him. So, like Eddie, he's like, "Oh, I've read comic books forever. I can just turn off my brain and assume that personality." And I'm like, "No, now you have to come up with how this character behaves." So it's like you sit there and you're a 5'4" tall woman and you're out in the middle of the night and it's dark. And it doesn't matter how much swimming you do, even in the dark, it's still kind of one of those things where it's like something touched my leg, and it bothers you. And Eddie, he's got his, scuba license and night scuba. And, he's not going to be fucked with about that. But Shell doesn't have scuba certification to mine.
But how do we know she doesn't have scuba certification?
It's not in her merits and she's poor. Poor people oftentimes don't get the privilege of going to do shit like that.
What if I worked on a dive boat when I was younger? What if?
You know what? If you had managed to tell me that in the background story, I wouldn't have fucking cared.
But I did not.
Okay,
I did not.
Yeah. Like, that's what I'm always telling people. It's like, give me the most detailed story you can from where your character comes from. And Eddie, in a surprising change of events, he pulled out his fucking character generator.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it yourself hurts the.
Yeah.
But
I get a basic synopsis of who this person is, and it's like, okay, well, why is she who she is? Oh, I'm not 100% sure. Whoa, I have central casting. It's a book. It's one of my thousands of books I never used. Lipton. What's that?
This guy's getting on me for being John Lipton because I'm sitting there like in the fucking 10.5 trust exercise episode. He's just like, why are you asking me why she feels that way? Why do I have to think about what my character feels? They're like, because your character does have feelings.
Stop making me feel things.
Yeah. It's like, I'm a man. Balls, beer, fuck. That's it. And I'm like, no, now you got to do lady stuff. You have to have emotion.
No. I don't want to cross my legs. I don't want.
Yeah, but like, you can make your character however you want at the end of the day because it's your character. But like Wolverine isn't going to suddenly be like, you know what? Kicking the habit. No longer going to smoke cigars. Everybody be like, what the fuck are you doing? Put that stogie back in your mouth, Wolverine. I can't believe this age fucking politically correct bullshit where you can't show heroes smoking in front of children.
Well, like Wolverine does smoke because he's got a healing factor. So the question is, why would he put the cigar down? Why? Like, is he suddenly just tired of them someday? Is it just something that, like, the flavor's gone out of it? Like, why exactly would he put the stogie down? So it's like, it's not necessarily. That's not
regeneration wouldn't prevent cancer. Like, essentially, he has controlled cancer.
Wolverine doesn't get cancer.
He has controlled cancer. Like, he has very strong, like, things that detect if his cells form. But essentially, he has unlimited mitosis and like, for the average person, though, you can get cancer from getting cut on the arm over and over and over again in the same place because you keep damaging the cells. And every time they have to replicate, some of the partially damaged cells survive and have a chance of starting that.
Okay.
Like, but Wolverine, for some reason, he's just like, oh, I'm immune to actual medical knowledge. I'm immune to that. I just have the ability to grow back stuff. And it's like, cool. You know what? They need to have more things where his balls and dick get shot off or something.
They do. They do. That happens fairly often, actually. The Punisher's done it a couple times.
He shot off his dick?
The Punisher shot off his dick.
Just, wait. So he was raised before foreskinning became a... So it would be funny, though, if he's like, he's at the brists and he's before he's a mutant. So they cut off his dick skin and it doesn't grow back. But then he becomes a mutant, and then later the Punisher shoots off his dick, and he's got a foreskin now, and he's just like, I wasn't prepared for this, bub.
That's never come up. I think he's...
I have to clean underneath it now, bub.
He was a Christian baby. He was a Christian baby, so they did cut off his foreskin. And
no, he's... Yeah. Foreskin chopping came back in the 1920s. Wolverine's from the 1800s.
That's a good point.
I can predict what your dick looks like from what time period you're...
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. We've never seen him, like, not in canon. I mean, in horrible porn on the internet, yes. But it's like, in canon, we've never seen his dick. So it's like he might have foreskin on him.
He's got a foreskin. And especially if the Punisher blew it off and the entire thing grew back, he has foreskin.
Yeah.
And so now you got to think about Wolverine's, the spice must flow Dune work.
Oh, snap.
And
so this is why you're frustrated with Dents right now, right? Because Wolverine has foreskin.
All right. No, that's just a tangent. That's talking about how characters can't change,
bring it back,
or grow.
They can change, but you got to do it. You got to do it right. You got to dynamically. You got to tell a good story.
And essentially, you're just going, I'm going to pull out this character that I think is cool from another universe, throw him in a different universe, have him exactly the same, and essentially see who else he fucks. And that to me is like, it's tedious.
That might change him. That might change who he is as a person.
No, because
I don't know.
The fact of the matter is that you don't really synthesize new shit for Wolverine or Spider. Mm-hmm. They are who they are. And even if Peter Parker and Aunt May and Uncle Ben grew up in fucking Azeroth, and fucking Hellscream comes along and chops down Uncle Ben, and he's like, I shouldn't have wasted my spider powers in wrestling. I have to go stop the orcs now. It would still be fucking Spider-Man with his quick wit and all that other dumb shit. Mm-hmm. Great powers, responsibility. Oh, God, Aunt May. Oh, God, Mary Jane. Oh, she became an undead. What am I going to do?
Well, in Azeroth, she would be Mara of Jane. And she might be Elven.
No, Mary
Dead
Jane.
Silence. Anyway.
Well,
let me think of it this way.
It comes back to, going back to the original message of, players need to calm down about being the center of the story.
Right.
Because, for one, it disenfranchises other players.
Yeah.
Two, the GM's tired of it. He's already tired of it. The moment you start up, where it's like, I'm the hero, I'm the guy that everybody has to pay attention to, and everybody else becomes Luigi, he gets tired of it because he wants the other players to enjoy the game too. Yeah. So he's constantly to play whack-a-mole with your fucking ego, being like, no, stop it. Everybody else gets their turn. It's like with my nieces. This is something people don't teach their kids because every child is special.
Yeah.
Because everybody being special.
Well, you know what George Carlin thinks
exactly
about that?
Fuck
your kids. Special. Fuck your kids. That's from Mr. fucking Conductor. So,
I hate kids.
Yeah.
But
fuck child worship.
When my nieces, I fight with them all the time because my older niece likes to respond for my younger niece. And the younger niece isn't learning verbal communication skills because the older niece pipes in on top of her, and I'm the only one that notices it. So I'm sitting there being like, quiet, I'm talking to your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And the poor little girl, she's sweet, she's nice. And her older sister just overruns whatever she has to say. So even if she doesn't agree or she had something else, she's just like, yeah, because she's 3.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to keep falling behind verbally if her older sister keeps butting in and, overriding her. And for me, that's like, no, And parents, I think, just are like, oh, my kid is the most special, perfect thing ever. I lavish them with attention. Then you throw them into fucking school where they don't get any, and they have to act out and rebel and fucking cause problems, or otherwise succeed. This is about,
Yeah.
but it's annoying to DM. It's annoying to play with, and it's really annoying to see. Like if you walk in on a game and you see one player that's constantly interrupting others, constantly making it about themselves, like if it's a group effort, but like,
Snowman.
Oh, no, my character.
Yeah.
And then lastly, getting the games to run. If you can't run with that player, they have a fucking meltdown and shit like that because, oh, how could you betray me? How could you betray my desire to be this is the only place where I'm outstanding and shining because fucking abuse the rule system. It feels like it's dumb. It's really dumb and it's really bad. And for me as a person, like, I'm currently trapped where I can't play a game because a player isn't there, and they'll get butthurt, super butthurt, if I do not keep them involved, even though they show a lack of interest because I can't do much with their character because they're so bland and generic most that I can't come up with story to hook them in, and otherwise the story has to glorify them. Now, you might be predicting who this is if you've been listening to the games long, but like what I've encountered with Davis is that he plays like, I think he doesn't like getting involved with games, probably, but unless he can make an overpowered character. Like Doug is a fucking flawed character. Like if he was a person, he would not be where he is today. He wouldn't be able to get on the plane to America because he can't function with a fucking phone, or he can't talk to people normally enough, coherently enough to do what he needs to do. He'd be stuck what he's doing, being an incel, watching anime in his room, no matter what happens.
Well, he could be like a rich kid because it's like I think Doug's established he's got like he could have inherited
he does
the
have
money. Yeah.
No, his family's well, but
yeah.
The main things that Bob, it's not that he couldn't have gotten there through means, he couldn't have through socialization, and like, how did he buy his truck? Like, I think about these things as character could have done to get where he is, and I'm like, his character couldn't have done it. Yeah. And so, like, he has things for his character because he got a cult because he thought a cult would help him. And I'm like, I love fucking with players where they're like, oh, the world thinks this about magic. What the fuck does everybody who knows about in the world?
Yeah.
Nothing. Because at the end of the day, our world is... And for a good rabbit hole game, you need to have the world...
You're cutting out now.
The world has to be terribly banal for a good rabbit hole. Where you're sitting there like, oh, it's dead-end jobs in my cubicle. If only there was some escape to this. Lo and behold, interdimensional portal opens up.
Yeah. Or one of the most famous rabbit hole stories in our culture, which of course be The Matrix, the first Matrix movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, John, I think his name's John, Mr. Anderson. But Neo's character goes from being a cubicle jockey to being, the savior of mankind, which is like jerk off material to so many people that the Matrix became successful.
Yes.
Because people want escapism. They want it badly because at the end of the day, we're all kind of disappointed with the world because we grew up on Disney or whatever the fuck. And we're sitting there being like, wow, I thought I was special. I thought life would be better. I just go out and make a living, yada, yada. So we seek escape. We seek any means of drugs, television, entertainment, tabletop, fucking purchasing things to feel like we actually have more than we do and going into debt. All these things allow people to just satisfy that. It's not even an innate urge. It's a created urge of strife. Where you're sitting there being like, life sucks. I want a different life. And that's where the rabbit hole fantasy rabbit hole fantasy is really big right now because so many people are acknowledging how miserable existence is and having to work a way around it.
Yeah.
And but
yes.
So I have this game I want to run. And essentially I'm handcuffed because I want to include his character. I want his character to feel powerful. I want his character to feel involved. I want his character to feel integral to the story. All the characters in my games should feel integral to the story. And the thing that I saw with Davis's character is I like to frustrate players in a specific way because I always like countering their expectations. And unlike Ryan Johnson, where it's just like, you thought it was, but it's not. And no. Countering expectation is they make a character that's like his fucking character, a brutal fucking autistic pit fighter.
Yes.
And then they have to encounter social situations with delicacy, and they're just like, I'm retarded. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm happy to have had a role in that. It's
like,
here's a hot lady. I don't know what to do with hot lady. I'm gonna go watch anime.
Robin pulled the same shit on me, where it's like, oh, my character will just kill themselves if they go to jail, and I had to bypass this entire role play thing where they're in jail because she's like, I don't want to do it. No, I'm not gonna play.
It's like which is hilarious if you take this from like role playing and what people would do in a situation to real life. The idea of suicide. It's like, oh, life is a game, but I don't feel like playing anymore. It's like, well, it's the only one you get. So
see, the sad thing is, suicidal tendencies are automatically like chosen against. Usually, probably not. But, you usually don't get to breed that much before you commit suicide if you're suicidal tendencies. And so it's selected against naturally. And I kind of wish that, like, suicide became a really big problem, like around 35 after people had all their kids.
Yeah.
Because suicide's really bad with teens. Those teens ain't making that many babies. Like maybe 15% of them have kids. So the suicidal tendency, or for me, weakness. But it's also upbringing. I ain't got to get on a tangent about suicide, but
Robin, I can speak for Robin.
Like,
Robin,
I'm just gonna kill myself.
Robin did that same shit to me when I was running a game for her that you know about called Haunted, which was supposed to be kind of like a horror themed game, and it's complicated. I probably should do like a recap at some point about it. I meant to earlier, but that didn't kind of work out. But yeah, it was like I reached a point where the party had done something kind of stupid because Jason had done something really stupid, and the UN sent the military after them, and she got caught, and she was like, if my character winds up in a laboratory, she would just kill herself. She just it wouldn't be fun anymore. And I wound up I wound up retconning what I'd established for her, just kind of because basically,
you know what, in the future, if someone threatens with me, it's like with an actual suicidal person. I don't take threats well anymore. I'm tired of manipulation. I'm just gonna tell them, fucking get off my table, go away. Just leave. If you can't deal with the story, fine, you kill yourself. Bye.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I'm at too. I made an exception for her at the time because I was trying to be.
But I was trying to placate her as well. I didn't know she just had this constant tendency of, I'm going to do an ultimatum and get my way.
Yeah, that's what she does. And the thing is, the other thing too is the issue was Jason was involved, so it was kind of picking the lesser of two evils. Like Jason had kind of made the bigger ass of himself. So it was like, all right, fine. Like you and I are still friends after the whole Jason thing, but you don't want to talk to him anymore. And
this is like gossip for the listener, by the way.
Yes.
And but
dirty Jason's laundry.
Jason's a guy we both role played with who is kind of skeevy and seedy at best, but he also has terrible RP inside.
He's run a couple good role playing games. I had a couple good role playing.
He did run a good game for me. I was enjoying it. It was getting into some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And I was having a good time.
Well, part of the issue with Jason is fucking crazy. So it's like sometimes his good stuff comes from the fact that
that's the other problem where you're like, you're like sitting there and you're like, man, I enjoy this game, but I do not like the person. I just can't have this person.
Exactly. They come up with some really wild, crazy stuff because they're mentally ill, and it's like, and I can't be around this person anymore. And it's like, that's basically how...
I'm sorry. Goodbye, Eddie.
That's basically how Jason, why we don't hang out with him anymore. So, but yeah, I don't want to get too off on topic on Robin or anything like that, but it was like...
I'm already a surly person to begin with.
That's fine, though. At least you're not nuts. It's like, yeah. Anyway,
I'm not actually that surly. I get surly after people. And it doesn't take, a very little. It takes a lot to wear the shit out of me. And one of the things that annoys me is, someone said, hey, let's play a game on Tuesday. They're like, let's play a game. I'm free this weekend, and I'm like, cool. And I planned for it. And if I plan for something for a whole fucking week, and I start doing my homework and re-listening to the game file that the episodes that we have, and I go back through to look for like shit that I can do to players and like to tie them in and fucking, try to create depth and complexity and interwoven plot and fucking themes and shit like that. And then at the end of the day, someone's like, oh, hey, by the way, you showed up on time. You're ready to play. That guy's not coming. And it's like, oh, and without that guy, we can't play because that guy is that fucking guy who needs to be there and will whinge and complain. And so I guess I've answered my own riddle to begin with at the start is like, you just can't give in to those people. You tell them to go fuck themselves and you continue on without them.
Yeah.
So I might end up playing, but at the same time, I'm loath to do it. As a DM, I like my story. I want my story to be complete. I want everybody that was there to have like proper movement. Like if I just go, oh, Doug Marston falls off a bridge and dies. How anticlimactic is that for him? How untragic is that? How just fucking stupid does it sound? Where he's like, was he drunk? No, he just fell off a bridge. And it's like,
I think it's interesting because this is kind of what happens like in movie making too, where just like, especially on low budget productions where just shit goes wrong and you have to come up with some kind of bullshit and it winds up not satisfying. Or like, sometimes it happens for like just reasons that like, that couldn't be avoided. Like Poltergeist 3, the little girl actress actually died in real life. So it's like, they had to, like at the very end of the movie, you'll notice the little girl they have there is looking away from the camera. You never see her face after a certain point. It's because she died for real. And it's like, there's just, how do you, and it happened like during the production. So it's like, you've got to like, you're making a movie, you've got to work around that. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. But it's, I think that's part of it.
Reshoot the scenes with her character in it.
Well, it's like she's the whole movie. It's like she was a main character. That's
the
problem.
She's the one that keeps getting fucking abducted.
She keeps getting abducted by the ghosts. Yes. It's like she was the little they're here. That's
right, what is with these ghosts? They like leave the graveyard to go chase her to Seattle in the second one.
Yeah, it's Reverend Kane. Okay, deep cut. Let's talk about the Poltergeist movies. Specifically, it's the ghost Reverend Kane, who is a psychotic cult leader who led his cult.
So it's no longer Native Americans; it's now cultists.
Well, there's a mix though, because it's like they also found out that like there's it was specifically built over a graveyard. And they claimed that they moved all the bodies. They didn't move the bodies; they just moved the headstones. And so, like in the first movie, like when shit starts going crazy inside of in the house, they eventually learn at the end that the bodies are still there, and he like starts screaming at like the guy who sold him the property, and it's like, you moved the headstones, you didn't move the bodies, you moved the headstones. But there's more to it than that. The main ghost, Reverend Kane, was a cult leader who led his crazy cult of people underground. Claiming he was going to bring them to salvation, and they wound up just like being buried alive and suffocating down there. So it's like
graveyard.
That. Yeah, that's the. Yeah, it gets complicated when Poltergeist 2 shows up.
That sounds dumb.
It's good. It's good movie. It's good movie series. Fuck your face. Anyway,
yeah, you will encounter complications as a story writer.
Yes.
Mostly if you have to involve other people. Like as a DM to begin with.
Yeah.
Getting together a group to play is the most frustrating shit ever. I've had to cancel on D&D twice. I felt so bad. Like I've been playing D&D with my friends for like a year now, and we've only had like 7 sessions because we could play every other weekend because we have adult lives and we have adult shit. And then someone fucking cancels, and you're like, okay, we're just gonna have walk around in the background, not do anything. But for some fucking reason, if I cancel, I'm not even DMing. I'm just a player.
Mm-hmm.
I cancel, and they're like, oh, we won't play. And I'm like, no, just have me in autopilot in the back.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I feel like, so I think part of what's sparking all this is that earlier in the year, we did a couple sessions without Oxendius, and like behind the scenes, he got kind of annoyed at us, and he felt very offended.
I will pilot his character through it. I'll just sit there and be like, oh, I make nonsensical statements that are practically non sequiturs. And they're like, yes, rocks and cups. Yep, there. Phil Doug's Marsden's dialogue for the entire.
I mean, that's an option. It's like,
oh yeah, saying inappropriate shit to people, and also Whenever I get cornered logically, bring up my sister has been stolen.
Bring up your sister as a what?
But you cornered him logically about why he isn't talking to you, and he's like, because my sister has been kidnapped. And I'm just like,
oh, is that why you did that?
remember when he said someone had his sister out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And you're trying to like, because you're getting onto him for being a dick in the background on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which had nothing to do with the situation. Like, you're like winning. You're like, don't be a dick on the phone. I'm trying to talk to this guy. He's important. And he's like, oh, maybe you should listen to me because my sister has been stolen. I was just like,
well, okay.
like, it was one of those things.
How, like, did you two establish that ahead of time before that scene?
Oh, yeah. His sister's been missing since the start.
And he actually pointed that out before the first session to you in character creation.
Yeah, we were gonna. I talked to him about it once we started talking about it.
And he said absolutely fucking nothing to me about it.
Hold on. Because re-listening to the first few episodes, I realized that his character came in the last 5 minutes before the game started. Yeah. And I banged out a character with him. And we got very little in the background. So I started working on a background episode 2 through 4. And his sisters came up because Armstrong has sisters. And I was like, yeah, we should use those. And so I was thinking about stuff to do with that. And then, he has the very typical one got raped.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
bad writing 101.
Nobody could be sad about it. Nobody could be like, I got over it. They have to constantly live with that. I am now a jaded, fucking angry person because something bad happened to me. Like, could you imagine if everybody that came back from war, seeing death and like killing people, I would kind of equate that to like the level, like emotional trauma. It's not the same kind of trauma, but it's emotional trauma and stress.
Yeah.
And if everybody came back from a war just absolutely wretched and shitty, everybody be like, you know what? We should either stop having war or we should let them all die.
That's the thing. Not everybody, people are affected, and people are affected sometimes in very subtle ways. But it's like, no, they're not all like that. Even if you look at like Chris Kyle from American Sniper, it's like it's very specific things that kind of like would set him off or bother him. He had to deal with PTSD, but like if you talk to him personally, he's a really chill guy. But he would have moments where he would start feeling like he was back there, or talking to his therapist. It was like, it wasn't so much like what he had to do, like the people he had to kill. It's that it bothers him the people he couldn't save. That he couldn't, like, the friends, like, he left behind. It was like, it doesn't, but other than that, he was a pretty chill dude. He wasn't necessarily a nutcase. It was like, it affects people in different ways. It's like, now when someone shows up and they're acting like, real crazy or upset, it's like, oh, well, they got PTSD. Logically, you could like, oh, you understand why. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're all like that. No, it affects people in very different ways a lot of times.
Now I've been watching Best of the Worst, by the way. Yeah. To listen. Check out Red Letter Media's
Red Letter Media. I was about to talk to you about Best of the Worst. Go ahead. You go first.
But I've noticed like how they talk about how, bad writers throw rape.
Yes, that was exactly what I was going to talk to you about.
There's sex in it, and they can't think of how to do it.
Yeah, it's specifically a lot of those early exploitation movies. It's just we need to get nudity and tits into a movie, regardless of the consequence or regardless of what it is. And they don't really. The rape in question is not how rape really is.
They put the titties in there to like titillate the audience, and but for me, like I see a horrible rape scene, and I'm just that's tragic.
I'm not titillated.
Like, yeah, I'm like those boobies are flopping around quite nicely, but I feel nothing but bad.
Yeah, like I think it's particularly,
and it's annoying because I feel like the other day it's like I get a boner and I'm like no, we're bad people.
I think it's particularly bad in well, you remember the Christmas episode they did with Death Wish, Death Wish 3. It's like particularly bad in like the Death Wish franchise because it's like, especially like I think Michael Winner's.
There's so many episodes and they're all an hour or something long.
Yeah, and
I've just been pounding through them, and I may have watched 50 a month. And it's still not even scratching the surface because they've been doing it since 2000.
Yeah, my favorites are the Wheel of the Worst episodes.
I feel bad for them because they have to watch those, hour, 2 hour, 3 hour movies, and sit through 3 of them on a weekend and then come back.
I don't feel too bad for them. They're choosing to do this, so it's like, oh, come on, you guys.
And they also get that YouTube money. Those things got 1 million views.
Yeah, so they're fine. They're Mike, Jay, and Rich are just fine.
I want to get to know all of them personally, and it's sound.
Yeah,
You know,
they're really cool. And if I can,
like Mike is the kind of funny that I really enjoy,
yeah,
and so is Rich. Like
yeah,
Jay doesn't really hit the notes very often. He's
Jay,
good for talking about cinema and theater and knowing actors and what they were in.
yeah,
But like Jay is not as funny as those two. Those two slay me. And I'm like,
that's
I
true.
should
Well,
wear
it's
his
everybody on the
and just
show has their own kind of like sweet spot that they hit, and so I like them all.
I'm gonna
But
kill Jay and wear his skin. Sit in with
you do kind of look like Jay, though. Actually, truth be told, you look mostly like Macaulay Culkin, who has joined the cast as
I don't
as
look like
occasional
Macaulay.
guest. You do. You look and sound like Macaulay Culkin.
I love how Macaulay Culkin, like they met him or they got to him through the guy that wrote Chronicle.
Yeah,
'cause his
but Max
dad
Landis.
made Home Alone.
Yeah,
Yeah, Max Landis. Max Landis was really great too. I'd like
Yeah.
to see him back.
yeah. He
But,
needs to come back. He's fucking great.
That's not
That's
frustrating.
my favorite episode, the
We can
Double
talk
Down
about that in
episode.
Dead Pirate.
Huh?
Oh yeah, but he goes and sees Macaulay Culkin at the end for that little video, and I was just like, excellent.
See, but that looks like you, like Macaulay, like satanic Macaulay Culkin at the end of the episode. That's how you actually look like. And I can see you in that
How
scene.
kind.
I see you in that scene. It was like instead of Macaulay Culkin, it's just Josh. It's just Josh absorbing children's
Nice
movies.
compliment.
Keep me
But no,
forever
I don't
young.
look like Macaulay Culkin. I have a stronger nose, and
You don't wear
Um,
bunny ears on top of that.
hey, I would.
Go check out Macaulay Culkin's
But,
website, Bunny Ears, for yeah. But yeah,
Is it-
why are we talking about best of the worst? Frustrated DM. Back to Dennis.
Do that, Zed Pirate. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
rape
like
is
a
rape
game-
is like okay. Okay, I know why we're talking about it. Okay, in a lot of those
Yeah,
movies, a
we're
lot
on
of
the
those
rape.
exploitation movies, rape is just is they it's exploitation, so they show it and they talk about it.
But I think he
And-
took it from 90s level writing. Where in the 90s, they, in the early 2000s or something like that, they had dead parents in the 80s and they moved on to rape in the 90s.
Yeah,
'cause
rape
90s was
rape in the
fucking
80s.
edgy.
Rape prior to that was just, hey, we're showing tits. Hey, we're being exploitive. Whereas like
That was like the thing. It's like this girl, she's so dark and brooding because she got date raped,
yeah.
actual raped.
Yeah, that's
And
90s writing.
before
Which
that,
okay.
this is my idea for good story writing. Rape by dead parents. So what you do
What?
is you have these parents killed, come back as zombies and rape the kid, and that would do it just like that'd be the darkest character ever. They'd be walking around like, Raven's not dark. I'm fucking dark.
Yeah.
And because that me and my friends talked about the rape and dead parents thing for a long time before this. And so like I like writing. I like writing good stories.
necromancer
I
could
like
do that to
writing
fuck with
cohesive
someone.
characters. Like all my characters have to have machinations. Like, the other doesn't act blindly. The Wendigo isn't acting blindly. Eddie wasn't acting blindly until he got cloned and made 80% Eddie. And all these characters
We still need to come back to that.
they have machinations. They have to have a reason for why they do shit. That's why I bug people who play in my games. Why does your character do that? Why? Why? And it's just like, oh, because I want them to. And it's like, all right, why do they want to do it? And they're like, and they're like, yeah, it's stupid. And it makes me so frustrated because I'm like sitting here and I'm trying to make good story. I'm trying to make twists.
For comparison, let's talk about one of Davis's sessions he did on his channel, the RPG Society. Check it out, folks. The person I give the most shit out of our little circle here, Kiba. Kiba's character, Sovalis Nalo. I gave Kiba a ton of crap for the way that character
That's
behaved.
a good name.
It's not bad. It's not a bad name. I gave him a ton of crap for the way he was acting because he wasn't acting logically. And what it really boiled down to is Kiba just really super wanted to get his rogue on, and Oxenius didn't really have that prepared for him. Oxenius didn't seem to have much of a story in general. Like, it was just like, okay, you're in the city, and it's on these ancient ruins, and something happened here a long time ago, but we don't know what it is, and you can't go to you work at this wizard's tower, and you can't go to the third floor for some reason, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you want to find out about it, you could ask your boss Monday. And he's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to go and talk to him now on a weekend. It's like, well, you can't because it's a male dorms, and they won't let you up there without an appointment. I don't give a shit. I'm going to be a rogue because I'm a rogue and I want to get my rogue on. He really just wanted to bluff and sneak and climb and do rogue things. And so as a result, it made no sense, and it was completely out of like. It made no sense for a character who's essentially a secretary to do this, other than the fact that Kiba wanted to rogue. He wanted to rogue hard. It's like that's really what it boiled down to. He wanted to rogue.
That for me is railroading, where your DM is like, no. That's why. This is I should get it on a shirt. This is gonna like if we ever sell merch, it'll be on a shirt. It'll just say okay. Like it's just gonna say okay. Like it's gonna be lowercase and it's gonna be italicized.
Yeah.
Okay. Like because that's what I say to y'all all the time. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna go punch him, and I'm like, okay. And like very few times where I'm like common sense rolls because I know it's gonna end very badly. But if it ends somewhat badly, I'm just like. It doesn't have like if it endangers the rest of their character's
you know what you put on a.
Then I'm like maybe.
You know what you put on a shirt is I choose to ignore common sense. That's what we should put on a shirt.
And also rape by dead parents.
Rape by dead parents. But like the rape thing is definitely I think like okay. And another comparison is we've talked about this before. I don't think I've ever actually put this on recording before, but we've talked about one of my favorite characters, Isambard. It's my vampire character when I first started playing Vampire the Masquerade back in high school. And my character's the premise for my character was my family was raped and murdered by the Nazis.
Not like dead parents.
Not dead parents, but like his wife was like raped and then murdered by Nazis, and then like my kids were shot by Nazis, and so I killed a bunch of Nazis.
So your character's a Jew?
Actually, no, I didn't make him Jewish. I made him like an English guy who was like just like was in Poland at the time and was trying to get out, and I think they grabbed him because they were against the British at the time. So I didn't make him specifically Jewish, but it was like he was no, this is high school Eddie writing this and not knowing what the fuck he's doing. But yeah, and it was like, and basically, and like he got, I imagine like he actually lured like the troop of Nazis that had murdered his family out into the woods, and he basically that entire the scene where he killed them was basically stolen straight from Mel Gibson's The Patriot. It was like that whole scene. I basically he killed them that way, but he also started losing control at the end and started just kind of like going all Rambo, and he got shot and started dying. And the entire thing was witnessed by a Nosferatu who was impressed and was like, "Oh, you'll make a good member of the Sabbat." And so he sired me right before I died. And from then on, my character was the world sucks. The world is painful and cruel. I want to burn the world to the ground because of what happened to my family.
Teenage angst manifesting as vampires.
It was my first edgelord.
Vampire the Requiem, Vampire the Masquerade. That's all it is. It's like a fucking net.
Yeah.
Like all these people are falling through. It's got big holes, but it catches every
angsty goth edgelord kid out there. And this was my first edgelord character, and yes, he is deeply, deeply flawed. I still love him. He's mine. He may be crap, but he's mine.
I'll bring him back if you want.
Actually, I kept him going in other games. His backstory got changed. Not his backstory got changed, but basically stuff happened to him that I never got like resolution for. Like he came back to life, but got other powers. I used him for a couple different role playing games. So I wouldn't mind playing him again. So it's like of course, there's some things I'll have to answer for. It's just like, really? You wrote that? Really? How embarrassing. So, yeah, but it's, I went there. I went, like, my family was raped. And I didn't even go Paul Kersey. I didn't even go Death Wish. I could have just been cool and Charles Bronson and just started shooting people with a Magnum. Just dispassionately, but no, I didn't do anything like that. I had to like revel and rage and
fucking Brosnan dispassionately has sex. Like that's his character.
Like when he's shooting things, yes. The bad guys, the criminals raped everything. They raped his family, they raped his maid, they raped his hair. They raped everything. They raped his toupee. Yeah. To be fair to Oxendius, who I think is the seed of all this, it's like, well, okay, actually, before we get into that,
I'm sure he would play if he wasn't busy.
Yeah,
but I'm annoyed. My hands are tied.
Yeah.
In the meantime.
Yeah.
And
I think part of the problem is just a matter of like we can't all be together at the same time, and that's what that was the instance for you last week, and that's the instance for him this week, and it's just like and it's frustrating. And that's why
I don't mind splitting the party. I'm good at timing.
Yeah.
And like as you've seen through many of the games, I will split the just fine. And because it's no different from playing like they're all together. You just have to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because essentially you're just waiting on one guy to make a turn, and then the next guy makes a turn, and then now you just get two guys making a bunch of turns by themselves for a while.
Yeah.
Separately.
And on that
works.
note, I would like to, since we're talking about splitting the party, I would like to start by I would like to add to all this, fuck Spoonie, Mister. Never split the party. Never splitting the party applies to when you have everybody there, and you're going into a dungeon, and you don't want to get ambushed.
The party.
Yeah,
I will say you don't want to split the party with like 4 or more players.
Yeah,
unless you get like grouping, because if you have to track 4 people doing shit, those other 3 people are going to be sitting there for 3 hours because they're going to get their hour of gameplay or their 20 minutes, and then the next guy's going to get 20 minutes, and the next guy's going to get 20 minutes, and you're going to essentially have a guy sit there for an hour waiting for his turn. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah,
because they're only there for themselves.
Yeah, and it's the real like the tactical reason for not splitting the party makes sense, like in Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like you don't split the party when like, I'm going to go this way in this corridor and I'm going to go this way in corridor, because what the dungeon is designed to fuck you, and what's going to happen is you're going to get hit by a trap, you're going to hit by monsters, and you won't have any backup. So you in D&D
players,
hold
on, one of my players, they get to these trolls and they fight these trolls and they manage to kill them. And they're like, woo, that was rough.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go inside of their cave and just, rest for a bit. And the guy that was with him, this barbarian, he's like, hold on, I'll go check the cave. Or he doesn't say, I'm going to go check the cave. He's just like, And he starts checking the cave out by himself. And I'm just like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
And because this asshole was like, he's like, oh, they shouldn't have sat there and waited. He's trying to, like, rationalize it after. They should have checked it out and make sure it was safe to stay in. But he was trying to loot shit by himself. No matter what he tries to say about, I was protecting the party, why'd you kill me? He was trying to loot shit by himself, because the first thing he did was he walked into a pool that was actually a slime because there was a gleaming sword in it.
Yeah. Oh.
He literally goes,
Cue him
oh man, the trolls blocked off this area and it's got weird troll like markings on it. Let's see what's behind it. And he walks in and it's like, oh, it's just this rather clear puddle with glowing mushrooms or shit around it with a sword in it that's just calling my name. And he just walks up and grabs the sword, and I go, no. You take a few steps in, you can't move, and you start feeling a burning sensation at your feet. And like, wow. And he died to a fucking slime.
Here's the thing. Cue him to Orlando.
He was so mad.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck?
My buddy Cue him to Orlando on my ship. He tried using that against us in our D&D game on there, and I think I managed to save the party. It's like, stop! It's a gelatinous cube. It was like, because we entered a room, things were kind of hazy, and we saw like this sword floating up in the air, and I'm like, it wasn't, and like I had us make sure we did a couple more sense motive or perception checks, and then we realized there was like a faint outline, and then I'm like, it's a gelatinous cube. It's a gelatinous cube. Nope, fight it. It's like, because I've seen that happen before. It's like, and that's the thing. Gelatinous cubes are great because they ambush people by just standing perfectly still. They just stand perfectly still, and people will walk into them, and it's like, okay, now you're getting eaten by a giant piece of Jello, and it's
this one was like a puddle one.
Yeah,
and so it just started to wrap up around him and consume him, and he's like, how dare you kill me? And I'm just like, God. You didn't want to wait on the party. The place was blocked off. It was the only other part of the cave. And you're like, oh, whatever these things are holding, whatever. He didn't see it as whatever's holding it in and stuff like that. He saw it as like, oh, they're hiding their treasure in here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fine, because I like misleading people too.
Yeah.
And
my player playing
for him to be like, how dare I kill him because I was going to go off and steal.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's lawful evil. Then I'm like, yeah, you can do shit like that. I don't care if you steal. I don't care if you rob the actual party.
Yeah.
But, don't blame me if you die.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't make it. He didn't make an insight check. He didn't make not an insight check, fucking perception check.
Yeah.
And he didn't do any, like, dungeoneering checks. He was just like, a sword. And I'm like, he could have just stepped in a fucking trap. Yeah. If I had a trap, like a pitfall, and he fell to his death, he probably still would have blamed me.
Yeah, well, at least again, I like this group I got right now in IRL. They're brand fucking new, but they're already learning, and I think especially like the guy playing Reinhardt who got killed by the Slay Living Trap. It was like his comment for that was that really opened my eyes. I was not expecting that, just to touch something and instantaneously die. So they're being super cautious now. They always like, hey, do we see anything unusual? They always make spot checks. They're taking their time and they're being careful, and they still fuck up every now and then.
Inspired DM.
Yeah.
I'm not inspired at all. I don't have traps in my. Every now and again, I go to Don John. And I use their DM or their dungeon generator.
Yeah.
And I get all these traps. And I'm like, oh, yeah, traps exist.
Yes.
But
yes.
otherwise, I'm like, oh, there's kobolds and goblins and whatever the fuck else monster in there. Because I'm a dumbass. I do not have the patience to make like puzzles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's some people like doing that. Some people don't.
I like riddles. I'll do riddles every now and then. But like my friend, he's like, oh, you encounter this room with 3 buttons with depictions on, and it has another picture above it, and you're supposed to guess what picture follows it in the sequence. And I'm like, okay, describe them. And everybody's like, oh, it's like we're all sitting there, and I'm like, fuck it, no, I'm gonna roll intelligence. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna solve this. My character is. I roll intelligence. I do well. And
sometimes it's over your head in real life, or sometimes people don't describe things well. It's kind of hard to do, and it's like how badly.
It was a simple one. It was like the fucking what walks on 2 legs, 4 legs.
Yeah,
2 legs.
The classic Oedipal myth, Oedipal riddle.
Yeah.
From
Sphinx. I knew it, but my character didn't know it, so I'm like, I roll intelligence because I still RP in D&D the best I can.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually like, is my character smart enough for this?
Yeah, it's like I'm smart enough, but my character's not. It's like that's an issue. And some people will take issue with that because they just want to win. When it's like, yeah, we don't always get value from winning. No, sometimes we get value from playing character.
There's plenty of people that make dumb fucking brick characters in World of Darkness. And then I give them a logical problem and they solve it as a player. And I'm like, hold on. Character no, because they come back like that and tell me what it is, and I'm like, that's fine, but your character has an intelligence of 1.
Yeah,
that means your character is not that sharp, and so we're gonna find out if he knows it. And it's like, your character does not know it, and they're like, but and I'm like, no, your character, you are not in the game. There is a different thing in the game that is not you, that you are controlling. But you do not get to control what he thinks.
It's hard for people to rationalize because it's like it's I don't know. It's kind of a gray area where it's like you could get around that by being more crafty, or like just like not letting on that you figured it out. Like if the mistake there, being the dirty cheater that I am, is to not tell you, oh, I figured it out. The correct thing would be to say, would be in my head, oh, I figured this out. Don't let my dungeon master know I figured it out, and then it is a man.
Piece of shit.
And just do that. That's the way you're supposed to cheat, kids. So because then once you tell the DM, then the DM can fire back with but your character's stupid and doesn't know that. And it's like, and then
dude, I still come back with your character's stupid and doesn't. All the time.
And yet I said a man anyway.
I find my way around to it. I'm like, yeah, but
we need more episodes of Frustrated DM, Malmodo. So I need you to be frustrated by this, so we can make more episodes.
Agree about everything. But no, as a DM, my frustrations are pretty simple. If I can't play, if the game is being derailed by a player because he wants to be center of attention, if the game is being derailed by a player bitching about what happened in the like anything that is anti-fun for my other players.
Yeah.
Like I get frustrated with rules that are anti-fun for my players.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated with players that are anti-fun for other players.
Yeah.
Like one of the games I was in, I had a shapeshifter. It was a changeling. She had a psychic parrot that she used to could speak to anybody. Yeah. So it's essentially had of many tongues. Okay. And so I used the psychic parrot with my high-ass charisma roll, because I was a bard, to fucking mess with people.
Yeah.
And I was also a changeling, so I could do what I want. But to the knowledge of all the players there, I was just some lady.
Yeah.
And I did nothing but be some lady all the time.
Yeah.
Except when I'd walk away from the party and be like, hey, I'm going to go shopping. I'll see y'all later. Or if nobody was looking at me. And I'd always do I had really high perception because I'd always be like, okay, is no one looking? Roll perception. And, I'd take the result. But, I'd always do really well. So it's like, oh, you don't see anybody. Okay, then. I turned into something else.
Yeah.
And so one of the players like, oh, I deduced that you're a changeling. And it's like, how did your character with an intelligence of 11 deduce that I'm a fucking changeling?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I did a high insight roll. It's like, the fuck you did.
At the very limit, it's like what should happen is the dungeon master should be having them do an intelligence roll with a set DC. And for me, a standard, a fairly easy DC for me is 15. It's like,
you remember fourth ed though?
Oh god, fuck fourth ed.
Yeah, I was in fourth ed for this.
Oh,
and
fuck.
Fourth ed, you could get some ridiculous skill modifiers from the start.
Yeah.
So my character started at level 5. I had a plus 15 to disguise, to deceptions, to all sorts of stuff. There was no way that I rolled less than
they would have to do an opposed check. And at the very least, just because they make the check doesn't mean they instantly deduce, you're a changeling.
But he made a pure combat character. His insight modifier was plus his wisdom score. He didn't put any points into it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm just going to be a battlement priest and abuse this cheap system. And I'm like, well, there's better ways to abuse a cheap system like this. Yeah. And he got mad because my character was essentially far more effective. And so he's like, I'm going to take the wind out of your sails. I just know you're a changeling. And I'm like, how? And I got pissed because the DM and him are buddies for a long time. So the DM just went, and I'm like, it ruins my fucking character for me.
Well, the DM's being shitty at that point. The DM, it doesn't matter if it's his friend or not. His DM should say, well, hey, listen, you don't necessarily know that. You need to actually, you need to do some rolls, sir. You need if you're not present, he would have to do if I were running this, he would have to be do at the very least a check to see if he's at the bare minimum a 15 intelligence check to figure out that there's something odd about your character. He would need to crit to determine that you're a changeling. And even then it would even without critting, it would be the DC would be 40. Especially dealing with Oxenius is
no. I practically had a plus. So the plus 15 was bluff, persuasion. Yeah. But as a changeling, you get additionals to disguise. I think I had in the 20s for a plus 6.
Yeah.
And that's at level. Just gotta get stupid over it. But my character was indistinguishable from anybody she turned, and oh god, my DM was weird like you. He wanted
me what? Davis. Wait, no, Josh. You cut out again. Hang on a second.
It's a woman. The way you do it, ladies, is you
okay, you cut off, so do it again.
Giving you what and never give them anything.
Okay. They missed all of that, Malmodo. So
all right.
One more time.
But I mean you don't fuck your way to the top. You get to the top by not fucking. Because those people are still going to be fucking men are so much more patient than you think for sex. Mm-hmm. And you can keep a guy on the string for months just getting free food all the time, as long as you keep under $10 per meal. So you go out there and he buys you McDonald's or he buys you Starbucks and that's it. And you keep it going. And you can essentially mooch off of this guy for months because he thinks with his dick. And he, not all of us do, because I'm a sociopath. I don't think with my dick. I think with my desire to control the world. But nonetheless.
Sorry.
Yeah. But lots of guys, though, they think with their dicks. They don't do much calculation. They don't sit there and go, man, I'm not getting anything being in this relationship with this chick. She's not fun to be around. She's not interesting. I just want to get laid, and I keep buying her stuff. But you know what? I want to get laid. I'll keep doing it. Mm-hmm. So many guys that, once they make a little bit of scratch, try to use their money as their seductive prowess. And I'm just like, you're getting a certain quality of person. Good for you.
That's true.
And but for me, the sociopath I am inside of my games, like, playing this changeling and stuff like that, I did it mostly to fuck with people. There was one point where I got to convince like a church full of orcs that I was their messiah, and the DM cheaped me out of it.
Yeah.
I was so pissed. I rolled a 3 and I ended up with like a 21.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough to convince the majority of the crowd.
Yeah.
Against their priest, because their priest only like made like an 11. Yeah. And he's like, but I can't have you control an entire church full of orcs. So you don't get it.
Sounds like this dungeon master's a fucking pussy.
Oh, no. I'm okay with it. Like, at the end of the day, I'm fine with that. I was annoyed I couldn't get money out of it or other things like services, worship. But, like, that was fine. And, but, like, what annoyed me, the only thing that annoyed me is that guy being like, oh, I see through you. I see you, Natiri. And I'm just like, no, you don't. And the GM's like, oh, it's okay. He does. I'm like, well, fuck him. Because he's the kind of guy that's like, oh, I'll just blab about you being a changeling to people. And I'm like, no.
Well, here's
it's
the thing.
One of the few times I actually got in a really long, drawn-out fight with the DM about something.
Well, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, though, because I believe the school of thought is that you can't bluff party members so long as
Which is stupid.
Well, it's not stupid when everything is when you're all like working in concert with each other. I think the way to rule it is if you're all on even keel, if you're all being completely open with each other, and suddenly you start one of bluffing party members, you can't do it. However, when you're like, no, I want to go against the party's wishes. I mean, I think part of it becomes kind of a role playing issue. It's like part of it is a matter of like. No matter what,
seducing party members, I kept bluffing party members, I kept diplomating party members.
Here's the thing. That's fine though, because here's why: you're acting not necessarily in the best interest of the party. You're acting rogue. You're acting on your own.
Oh yeah, I stole shit.
Then it's
I
fine.
Stole a lot of shit.
Then it's fine. So like a good example is I always go back to Jason Pilar. I goes back to Wormwick. Well, not Wormwick specifically. Their Walewa campaign. Hoovy was playing a gnome who had some weird ability to come back to life all the time. And they were actively...
that is a moon druid.
Yeah, they sent him into this pyramid to go investigate something, and I think they were actively trying to... they were going to hurt him if he didn't do something the way they wanted to do it. So, like, he's like, okay, ergo, you're acting... You guys are acting against me. You are no longer acting like party members, which means I can bluff and I can do hide checks from you, and my skill checks will count. And he was able to sneak past the party as a result to avoid getting attacked by them. And Jason's like, yeah, that's fine. You guys are not acting in... Like normally, like they were the ones that were promoting like, yeah, you can't bluff party members. Yeah, as long as the party is acting friendly with one another. If they're acting in concert, if they're not, if they're deliberately trying to keep something from, that's the reason why it's a skill, because it's going to come up. What if I want to lie? What if I want to keep something away from the leader? What if that's going to come up? Yeah, it's going to have to happen at some point. So it's like, yeah, so that's the perfect time to do that. You're saying like, yeah, I specifically don't want them to. I remember, like, I did this to Oxenius.
You know what's funny is I keep feeling, because that same war priest, he was playing a different character in this game.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what? I want to keep this character. I enjoy him. Because he wrecked my last game that I was in with him, because he's like, oh, yeah, all this mystical caravan shit, blow it up. And, but I sorry I knew he was an asshole. I knew he was going to fuck with things.
Yeah.
And, so in this game, he's playing something else he tried to make.
Yeah.
And I'm getting my games confused. But, like, I was just playing a rather benign, kind of not even mean character.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to have a little fun. Like, my character was a changeling, left the changeling world, came in, found out she could do all this silly shit, and she was mischievous and sprightly.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I get to play an actual fun character instead of my usual, druids and fucking wizards and all that other shit. I like playing fun characters that are funny and clever and kind of like sarcastic. And that's fun. But like, this guy essentially is like, you know what? That thing you do with shape changing that makes you have a lot of fun, I'm gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no. And I had to go to the mat over it about why he can't decide it. I'm like, let's do a roll. Do an insight roll or a perception check to look through my disguise.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, I determine it logically. And I finally
like,
got
no, bullshit. You have to do a roll, asshole.
Do the roll. Because he was antagonistic to all of us.
Yeah.
And the guy was such a dick that he's still like, acting like he knew, even though he couldn't play off it in the.
Yeah.
He's just, oh, I'm going to do this really roundabout thing because, I think you're this person that I already know, but I can't say that even though you're inside of a different body, and I could never possibly ever determine that you're just some orc buying fruit at a stand behind me, just actually trying to fuck with me because I've been a dick to you all game.
Yeah, see, and a good DM would be like, no, stupid. You have no clue. You can say that she's a changeling all day long. You don't know shit. It's
the
like,
DM also
and by the
way,
blatant mitigating, you lose a level. That's what I would fucking do. That's what I would fucking do in that situation. You just lost a fucking level.
That was the other thing I forgot to mention about what pisses me off as a DM.
Yeah.
Metagaming where two players talk to each other when their characters aren't in the same room, or when they don't have time to actually make a plan, like where they sit down, they're strategizing. I'm like, I will give you guys 20 seconds to say stuff to each other as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Get through a plot, but otherwise, after that, you have to start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because you do not have time to plan. You're under ambush.
Now, I had this really good adventure leaguing experience, and the guy Lee who was running it did a good job with it. Where it was when I was at Pensacon, and the first session we did, we got to this room where the bad guys were holed up, and they had a bunch of crossbow people minded the door, and I stopped because I realized, okay, I'm a barbarian. I was playing the animal, and I was like, my job is just to go in there and attack. But I already saw the Dragonborn fighter, get cut down by the arrows, and I'm like, I can't just run in there. I'm gonna get cut down. So I kind of I said, all right, here's and we were in the middle, the combat had just started. And so I decided to do, okay, I'm wearing a tiger skin cloak. That's what I have. So I took my tiger skin cloak and I put it on my quarterstaff. And I'm like, I'm gonna make a puppet. I'm gonna make a puppet, and I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna put it in front of the doorway and try to scare them and get them to target it. And get them to shoot first. So then we can while they're busy reloading, we can charge there and kill the shit out of them. And then they started kind of talking, well, maybe we should do this. We've got some druids and some bards here. We could do some different things in them as well. And the DM said, I think the DM liked the fact that we started thinking tactically. Says, hey, you know what? I got to go to the bathroom and get a drink anyway. Hey, you guys take a minute and plan out exactly what you're going to do and go ahead. And it was it's a time thing where it was fine there because it was an adventure league. A lot of the people there had never played D&D before. It's 5e. It's their first experience.
But also, you were holed up around a corner. You had time to check.
We had time to check.
You weren't getting shot at currently.
It was beautiful because we started plotting and scheming. Oh, I could do this ability. I could do this ability. It was really a really cool adventure league.
It makes you read your spells.
Yeah.
There's so many times where I have not read my spells fully. And D&D fit that. They changed some. Hey. I read my spells fine.
Okay.
I only had a few.
Yeah.
You didn't read my spells.
That's true. I didn't read your spells. Whatever.
I'm a house. I'm a fucking house.
that should be a T-Pain song. I'm a house.
No, it needs to be.
Yeah.
Slam.
Little John. House is jumping down.
Get the doors going. Slam. Slam. Instead of shots.
Pennywise is on Pennywise is on the keyboards.
Oh, I was thinking Pennywise, the actual musical.
Oh snap! That's what I turned into. But anyway, that was a really good Adventure League moment. And that also I got one of my best role playing compliments from that same DM. The next section we were at, it's this is our barbarian who thinks like a wizard and is the smartest player, give or take the scenario. It's oh, thank you. I felt really good during that.
Until I show up.
I felt like a vet. I felt like a veteran. Just okay, no, I remember that second section. It's don't go into that pit. We're gonna get killed by zombies. It was I was able to
I would just cast sleep. I would just be go to sleep. Fuck off.
Yeah. Shut up, Eddie. I have players to kill. You're not gonna fuck this up.
It's class sleep on the archers or something like that because it does 48 dice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cut down people.
Yeah.
And it worked.
But yeah,
it's on goblins all the time.
Yeah, but you're talking about the situation where it's we didn't bother to plan before, and they're in two completely different fucking rooms, and they suddenly have Ghost in the Shell telepathy,
And the metagame problem of the player knows and the character suddenly knows.
Yeah.
And I get really pissed off if the metagame is I talk to the player about what's going to happen in the story later on because I wanted their input.
Yeah.
And then they use that knowledge in the game in character, and I'm no, your character doesn't know. and they try to keep doing what they're doing after I caught them.
Yeah,
like I tell people all the time, it's like, I will dock you XP. If you get worse, I will dock you more things. You need to learn to think on your feet, and also, just respect the rules in the system.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can make a 22-word statement during combat.
Yeah.
Per round. It's like, you essentially get to have 2 sentences of conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's like, I let them respond on your turn. Probably should. But I let them respond because it's considered instantaneous. Because it's communication.
I'll oftentimes let people go further than that, because just for the sake of, like, okay, these people want to talk. Okay, we're going to stop combat for story to happen. And it's not realistic, but I feel like dramatically and cinematically it works. And it's like, I like giving people the opportunity to do that. It
You
doesn't
like
just
your
like
dramatic
practice.
systems. I enjoy my character growth.
Yeah.
It can be dramatic, but usually it's just like, oh, hey, maybe I should stop punching things.
Yeah.
Like,
because I
it's
remember
really
dealing with
like-
I remember dealing with Jason of, like, I had Mephisto as, like, one of the bad guys he was dealing with, and I was trying to have my villain speech, and he kept on attacking me while I was trying to talk, and it got to a point where it's like, okay, that's it, fuck you, roll initiative. Oh, I won. Okay, no, you don't attack. You're gonna let me fucking do my villain speech because I've been preparing it, asshole, and then you can shoot me. Because I don't care. Yeah. It's like, it gets very frustrating when you're trying to have drama. And I mean, don't get me wrong, shooting the bad guy while he's talking is smart, but it's also, it can be very narratively unsatisfying, especially when it happens all the time. So I feel like initiative is the good way to resolve that. You want initiative,
like,
okay.
I only have characters.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason the Faceless Man was prattling off at y'all
is
because he had the power to do so.
Yeah.
Y'all are still weak, pathetic things to him.
Yeah.
And so he got to toy with you, and that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And because he's a malicious, cruel, sadistic character.
Yeah.
And he also likes reveling in his power.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do shit like talk to you. Most of my other people, though, they don't like talking. They just want to punch you or stab you.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you're in a for me, because I'm too logical for my own good, unless you're inside a position of such extreme power where you don't have to worry about God damn it, I forgot the big word. But you have to worry about consequence for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like opening yourself up to being shot at, or opening yourself up to being stabbed, or whatever, to submit yourself to the danger and also the waste of action that is having a long conversation with somebody during a time of them wanting to kill you.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're behind, like if you're flying away on a Zeppelin and you're using, like, fucking loud speech spells or whatever the fuck, and you're just shouting down to them that you'll rue the day that you ever crossed my path. We meet again. We'll be your next, to be your last steps on this earth.
Yeah. What are they going to do? Unless you got teleport.
Yeah, they can't. Unless you got lightning bolt, which goes 1,200 feet.
Yeah, or,
like,
or we're doing cross genres here, and you've got like a tank that can shoot like a mile away. It's like,
You pull out the barbarian, pulls out a Barrett.
Yeah.
Bam!
Hang on a sec. Let me get my sniper rifle.
It's like, why does the
Yeah,
Ranger
there he
have
is,
the
talking
Barrett?
shit in a megaphone at the very end of the Zeppelin. Hold on.
Like, if they're on the other side of like a force wall, if they're on the other side of bars and no one has a bow or a sling or any ranged spells, if they're on the other side of like, anything,
Yeah.
and they have defense, and to where they're untouchable for a while, you let them gloat if they're a grandiose character. Most of my villains, though, aren't grandiose. Most of them are succinct. Most of them are efficient, because the one thing I value in this life is efficiency.
Yeah.
And I hate inefficiency. Oh my.
Yes.
That's why I get mad with y'all, because y'all are like, oh, I got these numbers. I'm like, just tell me the successes and do the math yourself. I trust y'all to do it. You don't have to tell me everything.
When I do that, it's because I'm actually trying to count it. I'm trying to do the math in my head, and I'm speaking out loud. I apologize.
There's no math.
It doesn't readily register. Oh, I have so many successes in this. It doesn't necessarily do that.
Well,
because I'm not used to your disgusting D10 system. Dirty, filthy D10 system. D20 is life. D20 is God.
Like, you know what? I think you succeed and fail at about the same.
It is. It's just I'm less used to it. So it's like that's the reason why I'm counting it out.
Like when you're level 1 and you're missing the fucking goblins, and you just feel bad
Yeah.
because you can't roll over an 8.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there, you're like, I have a modifier +3. If I can roll 11, I can hit the goblin. And you're just like rolling 6s and 4s and 3s. And you're just like, why can't I hit a fucking goblin?
You remember when it took you 12 times to get the spell right in the Halloween game? That was funny.
Yeah, losing sanity.
The correct response was "fuck you, Eddie."
Yeah, it was. It's like, Eddie, come on, just let me do it.
Well, it's I wanted you. Yeah, I've actually fucked up the in real life group with the Halloween game because it was like they're using other Josh's system, and so it's like no, there's no just like, oh, you got the spell right, it goes away. No, every time they do it, it's like Cthulhu knows and keeps attacking them. So it's like I got a feeling the world's kind of butt fucked in that reality. And they got Keyblade Danny Phantom bullshit to help them out, and it's like, it's still not working. Yeah. Anyway, but back to the I think what spurned all this, which was the argument with Xenius about like, oh, you didn't wait for me and I was offended. And I think it's like my point to him then, and I feel like it applies now, is that I feel like that's why it's better to Adventure League this stuff. It's better to look, if people can show up and they can play, they can play. If they can't show up, no big deal. You come up with some reason why they're not there. And it's like, and personally, I object to the idea, as tempted as we are to just throw Doug Marson off a bridge. Or, Adigan into the vacuum of space.
At all. It's dissatisfying to me. I hate it.
And that's why I would...
Janos...
I would resist
Janos is confused about why his pawn is no longer acting like a...
Yeah.
Like, all these other things that are going on his character. Like, there's shit going on, but his character is oblivious as fuck. And he doesn't questions. He doesn't, get upset with people and demand answers. He's just like, oh, okay, then you don't want to talk. Goodbye. And it's like, you're actually...
Yeah, I got an elemental inside me that wants to take over my mind. Whatever. How are you?
It's like, why would you put something like that inside of somebody? I mean, there has ways to take care of it. And it's like, no, that's the most effective way. Because his character... Like, Janos doesn't care about his character because there's nothing particularly...
Yeah.
And he still sees him as just a regular person.
Yeah.
The actors that are his age, or just maybe Janos himself, because Janos, what's up with him? None of y'all even ask or care. Or like, oh, why does he mess around with all these crystals? Why does he have elemental crystals lying around?
I mean, my reaction, Shelly's reaction to it is like, I don't understand anything about this world. It's like, why wouldn't he have crystals? It's like,
why
it's all Kingdom Hearts to me at this point. It's all just, why wouldn't Master Xehanort put himself inside of Terra's body in order to make himself look younger? And that eventually becomes Ansem, who's not Ansem but's a Heartless, and Xemnas, who's the nobody of the Heartless, and
dude,
oh god, Kingdom Hearts sucks. So.
No, it's like they were like, shit, we have to keep people interested in Kingdom Hearts because it's going to take
I don't want it to get on. I don't want us to get on a Kingdom Hearts tangent, but one of the other problems of Kingdom Hearts, we were talking about Kingdom Hearts earlier. It's a fucking mystery box. It's JJ all over again. Every single fucking game. It's just like it's mystery box. Oh,
that's why the third one took so long, is because they're like, shit.
I'm not even convinced it's going to come out. I think it's going to be bullshit. I don't think we're going to get a Kingdom Hearts.
I don't think it's going to be satisfying at all. I think all these people are going to eat it up though because they're so in love with the idea.
Yeah, but that's the problem is it's the people that are going to be into it.
That's for the consumer parasite.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah, the people that are going to be into that are going to be people that are like, well, either just are hardcore. It's like the Kingdom Hearts 3 has already come out.
They're not hardcore.
Yeah.
They're pathetic.
The Kingdom Hearts 3 that we should have gotten has already come out. It's called Disney Infinity. That's what it is.
All right. So that's what we're going to have in the next game, by the way. It's Dead Pirate Radio.
Yeah.
Learn to
hate what?
Learn to hate. Learn to hate. That's what's going to be titled.
Learn to hate.
That's going to be me talking about it's okay to hate.
Yeah.
And like people don't hate the right things, in my opinion. They hate dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like there's dumb shit you should hate, and there's dumb shit that's a...
Yeah.
And like people, they don't hate in the most like you said, inefficient.
Yeah.
And going back to being efficient and actually staying on topic.
Yes.
So for frustrated DM stuff, I think I'm almost spent all of my fury.
Okay.
But let's recap with what a player can. It's like you have to be aware when you're getting most of the. You don't have to divide up time.
You're getting cut off a little. We gotta go. Do it one more time.
Sorry, you're not as a player. What you got to watch out for. It's like you don't need to have all the lines. Time doesn't have to be divided up equally. It just has to be not about you. It's about the game. When you go, okay, my character is just inside of a world. Let's let the world, the world takes you everywhere you go anyways. There's very few people in this world that free and total control. And the same should apply inside of a fantasy world. It's like for you to sit there and argue with your DM, grandstand and can ultimatum your DM because
Open up a beer.
Don't happy enough with your situation inside of the game. You have to stop and go, oh, why am I enjoying it? And what can I tell the DM that's constructive instead of being a and that'll do wonders. It's amazing what you can do where you can talk to people about instead of just complaining, where you're like, let's find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's always what you have to do is go, okay, I'm not having much fun right now in character. I want to talk to you about that because DMs, if they're a good DM, they care more about your enjoyment than their. Like at the end of the day, I want my story to complete. But I also know that if there is no audience for that story, if the audience doesn't enjoy the story, then it's a story that isn't worth being.
Yeah. Well, like for example, you came to me. You came to me after the first part of the Halloween game and talked about how I wasn't letting you do your psychic vampire stuff right, and it was like how it's like one of your abilities was to possess objects, and it was like and you kind of you were like yeah I can just do this, and it's like I become an object and whatnot. And I had you get forced out when the acid hit you. It's because I didn't understand how your character worked. And it was
for me, it's like my character is relatively frail and a caster.
Yeah.
And so casters can't be involved with their spells all, or else they'll run the fuck out.
Yeah.
Which I did. And you have no way of regaining them. And since it was a long going story where I didn't get hour rest because shit had to get done before midnight.
Yeah.
I couldn't regain my spells, which essentially gimped my character.
But
so
also,
other abilities.
You were already in game, jumping into objects for that very reason. And then I had you pushed out of the object when you got hit with acid, and you're like, "That's not how this works. I become like an object. I become like an animated object, and it doesn't hurt me." And you had to remind me of that. And so then that's why next session I'm jumping into a house, and it's like, "You're a house," and it's like because, I didn't understand that about your character, and it's like, "Oh, you can do this, that, or the other." It's like, "Oh, that's not a big deal." So it's like we had to work that out.
You need to talk to your DM. Don't get mad at him. He's just a person. He doesn't know what's going on in your head. He doesn't know what makes you.
Yeah.
And you talk to him. I'd rather somebody talk to me about why they're angry at the game or myself than just be like, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
And accomplish this is why I can't have.
You're getting cut out again.
I was making a joke about why I can't relationship with anybody because actually I'm too mature. No, but no, it's one of the problems you'll encounter as a DM as well. This is for the DM's part. If you're DMing and you have a player like that, you still have to be the bigger. Always be the bigger man at the end of the day, because all the other players will be like, that guy. You know what? He may break my balls as a DM because he runs me through a tomb of horrors, but he's fair. And he wants me to enjoy the game. He comes to me and he talks to me. I was like, what aren't you enjoying about the acid spiders? It's like, well, I keep dying to them. Well, that can't change. What else can we do? It's like, maybe I can sense them more easily. It's like,
maybe I could have a potion of acid resistance.
Hey, and there you go.
Yeah.
Like, it's stuff you can do. But like, mostly for me, since I do story-driven games about the characters and their growth and like, hopefully Shell is growing.
I think so. She's starting to care. She's starting to care about people and wanting to put others before herself. She's starting to.
Oh, you have no idea how much all that selfishness is coming. Ass, but
yeah, I know. But I will not abuse that. But she doesn't know because I'm not abusing that. I'm not metagaming.
Yeah, because Eddie is a good player. At the end of the day, as much as me and Eddie fight about shit, about how he shouldn't play fucking Wolverine
in my goddamn medieval period, or a predator on the ocean. But
that's a story for another time. That's a Jason story.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about how Jason splits Jason ruins friendships.
I always try to make Eddie make original characters, and as long as he can try and even augment a character to be more like it, Malcolm Ford, Shelley, even when he played the Question,
yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that because
I wasn't the Question. I was oh fuck, what is that character's name?
I thought it was the Key.
The Key, thank you. Yes, the Key. The Key is a DC Comics villain. The Key. The Question is a DC Comics hero. So,
I wonder if they
they probably have, but it was
it's like Question, Key. It's like I see we're going formalities of the.
Meanwhile, there is also a Marvel Comics villain known as the Answer. So I've always wanted to see the Question fight the Answer.
That sounds so stupid.
I know. It's like
unless they can do it with all new Moon Knight level story fuckery.
Oh shit! It has to be a Moon Knight story. Marvel, DC, make it happen.
No. All new Moon Knight was like rebuilding Moon Knight because his character got shit. It was just stupid. It's like 1940s Batman where he's like, "Oh, the cops have a helicopter for me to use," and it's like, "Really, Batman, the vigilante?"
Well, Moon Knight is a character that makes no fucking sense. I mean, he's kind of designed that way.
But now the all new Moon Knight, I was watching stuff on that, but this is
yeah.
But it's a lot. It's not just dumb shit.
I've always wanted to get into Moon Knight, and specifically some.
I'm not into any DC shit right now.
Well, Moon Knight's Marvel. Moon Knight's Marvel.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I thought. Fuck. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get into Moon Knight, but it's just like he's one of those like lesser tier characters that it's like, he's interesting enough, but he's not never been a huge pull for me. Like
he's a weird character because he's a rich, super successful actor. He's like Batman. He's essentially Batman.
Yeah.
And except he kills people in DC or Marvel. And
He's got kind of a Batman sort of setup where he has gear. And
he's got multiple personalities, which is always stupid to me.
Yeah, he also has connection with some kind of obscure Egyptian god. Like one of the few stories I've read with him is the crossover with
Cyrus or something.
Yeah, it's a crossover with him and Black Panther. And like they're actually they're fighting Despair, which is a demon. Normally a Doctor Strange.
He actually shows up and beats up Mr. Fix-It. Oh no, he fights a bunch of Wendigo. They got the Wendigo virus. He somehow has a cure for it.
Now, are they like Wolverine's Wendigo?
No, they got the Wendigo virus. Like, there's just everybody gets bitten and turns.
Yeah, Marvel has
weird.
Yeah, the Wendigo is a Marvel and Hulk villain. It's a Wolverine and Hulk villain, and it's a big white thing, and it has the curse. It occasionally bites people, and they become a Wendigo. It goes back and forth. Like sometimes, there's just one. And then other times there's there's an episode of Wolverine and the X-Men where it's actually a sequel to Hulk versus Wolverine, where Wolverine and the Hulk have to team up to deal with a bunch of Wendigos who are actually, it's like a virus. They're mutating and turning into these like werewolf things.
Yeah. Well, what happens is the Wendigo virus, Las Vegas, Joe Fix-It is dealing with or something like that, and Moon Knight shows up and he's like, "I'll help stop him. 'Cause I'm Moon Knight." Mm-hmm. And it's like, "What do you do here, Moon Knight? Just showing up out of nowhere." It's like, Marvel hasn't used me in a while. They want to keep the rights, I guess. He
starts pulling that Deadpool shit. I can break the fourth wall too, and it's like Deadpool's like, hey, it's my thing. That's my thing, asshole.
Going back to actually talking about the subject of the video.
Tangent no Jitsu.
Tangent no Jitsu. But digress no Jitsu. Anyhow,
I think it's important. Like, that's the thing. I think it's important to adventure game things. It's like if people can't show up, it's like I told Oxenius the first time this happened. It's like, listen, like if you can't, we all have lives. We're all busy. We can't always make it. So yeah, we're gonna go on without you, and I expect you to go on without me if I'm not there. Have fun. Don't let me hold you guys back. I'd like, I mean that's the thing. It's like it makes more sense, and you can't get butthurt about this shit because it's like. it's gonna happen. And right now, he wants to play. He just can't. He's got work tomorrow, and we can't meet up at the same point in time. So it's like, I would advise, what I always try to do when this happens is I just find some excuse for the other character not to be there, which I think you do too. I would refrain from making him like me. If it were me personally in your position, I would refrain from making dumb dialogue for him, because it's not so bad when it's just dialogue. He's still not going to get involved too much in the storyline, but it's like when I remember, like, the first game I ever played was Traveler, and the whole situation, we were on like a moon base, and the dungeon master gave us like a layout of like the top of the moon base and the underground like base that we were kind of moving around in, and we were attacked by these rebels that had armor personnel carriers, and none of the players knew what to do, and I managed to get my hands on a grenade launcher, and I used the layout to cleverly move up onto one of the freight elevators and use the freight elevator to go up all the way to the top next to an APC, and I blew it up that way. And that was right where we ended for the night. So I was like, oh shit, I did something smart, and I saved the day. Yay! But then I couldn't make it next week. And they had no idea what to do, so they just took control of my character. And I think, like, even the Dungeon Master was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I didn't want to do it, but they didn't know what else to do about it. So they kind of talked them into taking my character, and they just ran out onto this open base in the middle of nowhere and shot at the APC, and they missed, and then my character got run over and killed. And I had to make a new character. So it's like that's I think that's the importance of, it's just like, look, if they can't make it, they can't make it. You take them out of the story, and you don't fuck with them unless they say that they're dropping from the game. If they're dropping from the game, then you relegate them to NPCs. And that happens too sometimes. Sometimes it's like back at Great Lakes, Oxenius left the base before I did, and he actually kind of dropped out of the game earlier on. Like, look, I'm not gonna have time to do this. So it's like, okay, can I use Flutter Budgets as an NPC? He's like, yeah, sure. And I did, and that's how Flutter Budgets like ended the campaign, piloting a giant robot, because I'm a dick, and I told him that was going to happen, and it's great. I can take my friend's precious character and make him do something he doesn't want to do, and because I'm a bad friend, and and to be fair, I had Flutter Budgets completely disgusted that he was piloting a giant robot the entire time, because I figured, like, because Oxenius expressed he expressed disdain for my giant robot idea, and so it's like, I had yes, the glorious hero. The vampires used the blood-recuted mech to save the day, and he's like, get me the fuck out of here. Get me the fuck. He wants nothing to do with the robot. It's like, just
blood-recuted.
I had this. I made this joke after our first game. It's like, this campaign's gonna end with you, the vampire wizard, piloting a giant robot that's powered by blood and magic, and I'm gonna call it blood-recuted after the Death Clock song. Yeah, and he's like, no, Peeler, no, you will not do that. And it was like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And then when it was just me and Porter and he wasn't there to do anything about it, it's like, yeah, I had a deep gnome pop out of nowhere, and it's like, oh no, it's almost too late. He just grabs him and carries him away, and then Kiran Sali, the evil goddess, is coming through the portal, and meanwhile Porter's character's sealing the portal. He's actually won.
Fast.
Yeah.
What are eat gnomes called?
Sfernablin.
Nah, Sfernablin?
Sfernablin, that's what deep gnomes are called, yeah.
I would say it's Sfernablin.
Sfernablin, whatever. I don't know German.
It's such a weird name that I always try to. I want to hear other people say
it's like German or like Norwegian or something. It's weird. I would like to know
that sounds a lot better than my idea.
I would like to know the etymology behind it. But anyway, so like Porter's character,
German people.
Porter's oracle is sealing the portal away, and he basically won. And I figured, but before it almost breaks through. It almost breaks through, like as you're trying to seal it away. Then all of a sudden, a missile flies out of nowhere. It hits her in the face, and she's like, ah, and a bunch of missiles and lasers shoot, and there's a giant fucking robot marching on the castle, like blasting the crap out of it. And you seal it away, and you save the day, and then suddenly the robot opens up, and there's the deep no, and it's like, yes, you did it, Flutter Budgets, you are the one to pilot the giant robot, you saved the day, and there's this disgusted Flutter Budgets sitting there. It's like, get me the fuck out of here. Get me the fuck out. I want nothing to... And he's just like miserable and disdaining the robot, and it's like all foppish, as that character often is. And then we just teleported out of the Underdark and left the Claw of Karansali and all these important magical evil artifacts just there at the top of the temple, where any other evil drow could just pick it up, because we're good. Because we're good heroes. So I haven't. Yeah, I haven't fucked with him over that. In the Halloween game, he picked up the fucking the Cinnabite box and just put it in his pocket, and he's like, oh yeah, that's not gonna bite you in the ass later. Yeah. Yeah, so he kicked Pinhead's ass because Pinhead is unfortunately only a level 10 character. But then he's like Pinhead's like as like he was like closing the box. It's like we won't forget you. No one escapes the Cenobites. Meaning some other time a level 30 version of Pinhead's gonna come back to fucking rape him in the ass, and it's like he's gonna have to deal with that. But he just takes the Lamarck Collective and just puts it in his pocket. You know, gonna take it back to his castle where his stupid minions will probably look at it and like solve it and have Hellraiser 10 up in here. So it's like, yeah, he thinks he's okay, dumb motherfucker. So yeah, I that's all I got. Okay, do you want to do Dents? Do you want to do can you Adventure League Dents without Oxenius here?
I was gonna say you're still recording. We didn't close on actual notes for the actual recording.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, should I stop recording now and we'll do the game, or what do you want to do?
I forgot all the other shit.
I'll do the best I can to
No.
What?
I don't want to do that.
Do you want to do any gaming tonight?
His character became important because I wanted his character to feel important to him, and he's fucking not here. There's literally story shit hinging on him that I also want to do, because for me it's never like one bad thing. There has to be more than one bad.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you want, we could attempt it. We could attempt to go without him, and you could just,
because you're approaching the third bad thing, because bad things come in threes in my book.
Yeah.
You got the Wendigo curse, you got the other, and you got the bad thing that his character is going to cause.
Okay, but what about Vestilio? What about my dad?
Oh yeah, you're good. I mean, you were going to have the phone call.
Yeah. Well, do we want to do that?
You could. That's all.
Yeah, you're getting cut out, man.
That's all 40 minutes at most.
Well, I mean, do you want to do something because he's not here? Because see, my concern is that he may never, because that happens too. So he may never find may never find the appropriate time to get together in a enjoyable fashion to play, and you might not get Doug Marsden back. That's my concern, is that he might not be able to show up because he's been saying a bunch of stuff that I don't want to go into here about, like, oh, my schedule's changing. I'm trying to get, I'm doing this at my job. It's like, it may not be, this may not be the best time for us to get together. And it's just like, so, we might not be able to play Dents with him again. So.
Maybe. I feel like we're slipping away.
We're slipping what?
Disgruntled DM.
All I heard was disgruntled DM. Say it again.
We're moving away from the subject matter of this type of.
Yes, but I wanted to get.
Need to end.
You want me to stop recording?
Yes.
Okay. No.
Or finish up.
We're gonna keep going. Okay. No, Fable. This is Frustrated DM's Corner. This has been the episode I will title Malmodo Unleashed. Malmodo Rage. Ah. And this is the Dread Pirate signing off. We're probably gonna do something else after this. I'm not sure what, but in the meantime. In the meantime, this is the Dread Pirate saying Excelsior. R.I.P. Stan, and I'm out. Do you want to say anything, Malmodo? Just leave me hanging here. Good. Instead of actually ending the recording.
Well, I said delicious beans.
Delicious beans. They make you fart. They make you toot. Good night, folks. Okay.